Okay, everyone, we're gonna start. And I want to first thank everyone for coming tonight on another rainy night. It somehow has something to do with forums, I don't know. But thank you very much. And I'd like to welcome Margaret DeStasi and Scott Giselles, two council candidates running for Vernon Council this year. I'd like to begin now with a pledge of allegiance, if you don't mind, please. For the record, we should acknowledge that we do have 4 council candidates running for Vernon Council this November 5th. Harry Shortway, Kelly Weller, Margaret DeStasi, and Scott Giselle. All 4 were invited, and Scott and Peg accepted the invitation. So you have cards and pencils on the table if anyone's begun to write any questions down. I'm going to go over what our format is going to be for tonight. First, our candidates are each going to have up to 10 minutes for an opening statement, so they can share their backgrounds and experience and whatever they want to tell us about what made them decide to run for a council seat. And after that, we will post questions. The VTA has some questions that we have drafted, and we'll be happy to take questions from any of you for them. So they'll each have 1 minute to answer a question, and we're going to alternate. So if Scott starts the one question, then the second question will start with Peg. Margaret. So, all right. So that being said, we had a paper draw to see who would go first with their opening statement, and that was Margaret DeStasi. So Margaret, please begin.
I would like to start with saying that this is not about me, but it's about all of us. We are the people, and it is our community that must come together to move our community forward. If we work together, we can have a positive future. I personally want to thank the over 4,000 people that have gone on to my website to say that they're following me, and I appreciate all that support. I want to thank the VTA and all of you for coming this evening that allow me to speak with you and answer any question that's presented to me. I will do my best to answer it. I've been a resident of Vernon for 33 years. I raised my family here, and my granddaughter and her children now reside in town and attend school in town. In that 33 years, I have never before seen the increase in taxes that have occurred over the last 4 years. We have been we have experienced the largest municipal tax increase ever this past year. The taxpayers have struggled while our elected officials have argued with each other and with residents as well, instead of addressing the issues that we need addressed. I have the ability to bring people together. I've proven that with the paid group that I co-founded and brought together a team that effectively fought the illegal dumping that has been going on in Vernon for the last 6 years. As a community, we brought together a team of people that had professional capabilities that when we worked together, each one of us in our expertise, we were able to solve the problems and bring it to a conclusion. As my 40 years experience in the financial services industry, I will bring to the council the ability to function in managerial, business development, budgeting, and pretty much all of the aspects that would be required, as I did that on a regular basis in my career. I will be focusing on 4 main things that I would like to see accomplished, and that first one is transparency in our municipality. The town has greatly been denied transparency by the lack of communication that has taken place over the last 4 years. I'm an open, honest, and a responsive person. I seek answers. I look forward to sharing ideas and working out solutions to situations that occur. I believe that by open communication, we can come up with the answers to solve the problems that are facing Vernon. This isolativeness that has been going on has crippled us and kept us stagnant for a long time. We cannot continue in that vein. With the delayed enforcement and lack of environmental protection in our town, I personally will rise to continue to work with the Senate, as I have been doing with the DEP and with the other professionals, the senators, the assemblymen, the freeholders, to get the laws established to prevent from happening on Silver Spruce from ever happening again. I'm not done with that issue. I started it with my husband. We started it 11 years ago, and we're not done. We will finish out what we started out to do. We successfully stopped the cell tower on our property as well, on our road, I should say. And so I know how to work with people. I have forged great relationships, as I just said, with officials in our town and in our state. And I will continue to work with those for the better of our town. Our taxes have increased an unbelievable amount in the last 4 years. I have some great ideas, and I'm sure that the questions that will be asked, I'll be able to cover them, so I'm not going to do it right now. But I do have some good ideas about how we can approach that. I will also address commercial development on Main Street. I will say at this point that I am opposed to the renaming of Main Street and to the attitude that is being put forth by our current administration that it is a go-nowhere name. I do not believe that. I think Vernon has a great, wonderful future ahead of it. We are not a losing town. We are a booming town. We just need good management. We need good people to guide us to get there. And I am stepping forward to seek an office because I believe I can help. I have the talent, I have the experience to help to move Vernon forward in a positive fashion. I'm sorry I'm referring to my notes, but I have so many things in my mind. I believe that we need to have a professional staff of people in our town hall as well as on all of our committees. Currently, we have people that sit on our committees that are friends, but they're not really qualified. Some of them are, but most of them are just friends of friends. We need professionals. We have a large senior citizen group in our town that has a wealth of knowledge and abilities that I think we should be utilizing. I think we should be asking for our seniors to mentor on some of our committees. I think we should be going to our town residents and asking them to step forward and serve on some of our community committees. What better than to have our own town people stepping forward to move our town forward? We don't need to go outside and hire outside people to come in to do these things. We have people right here in town that should be utilizing and stepping up to provide their services. That's what a community is. A community is people coming together and working together to better themselves. We need to have a grant writer on staff in our town. Currently, we do not, and we have missed out on hundreds of thousands of free or low-interest dollars because nobody has been pursuing grants. I read recently that Governor Murphy presented to all municipalities in the state a $1 million infrastructure grant that all the towns have to do is make an application, provide a plan that is complete, and the money is available. I have requested, I can't even begin to tell you how many times from our administration, have we in fact applied to that and have yet to receive a straight answer. The deadline is December 1st. We're still time to do it, but we do not have a grant writer available to do it. That's a shame. We are missing thousands and thousands, if not millions of dollars that could be helping us to rebuild our infrastructure. Okay, I'll cover more of this stuff later. But for the last 11 years, I have fought for my family, be it through the cell tower or be it through fighting for the illegal landfill that was established across the street. I now want to fight for your family. I believe that my position would be to do the business of Vernon's people for Vernon's people. And I ask for your vote on November 5th. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, Mr. Scott Giselle.
Hello, good evening. Thank you all for coming out, and thanks for the VTA for putting this together. I'm going to start out, take my time, and just tell you all who I am. As a lot of people don't know me off the mountain. Then we can get into the questions and answers and some of the issues and my opinions on those. And so I'm just going to kind of lay this all out here about who I am, where I came from, and stuff. So most of you don't know me because I've never held public office before, but hopefully you've seen my signs around town a little bit. And for those of you watching at home, you may recognize the back of my head.
I do, I've seen it.
Because I'm the person that's always at the council meetings sitting in the first row.
That's right.
All right? Yeah. So I think I attend more council meetings maybe than the mayor. And I don't remember really any of other candidates at council meetings before announcing their candidacies for this election, other than the mayor and, of course, council president being there, and, of course, Peg as well coming for the dirt dumping on Silver Spruce and such. But so my thoughts are, do you want to elect someone who's shown no interest in attending council meetings before deciding to run for an elected office? So who am I, and where did I come from? First of all, on the ballot, I know it's kind of confusing. My name, it says on the ballot Joseph. Joseph is my given first name. Every firstborn son in my family was named Joseph in honor of a great uncle in Belgium who was a constable or something that was assassinated. Anyway, that's the way it is. But we always go by our first names to avoid the confusion, or my middle names to avoid the confusion in the family. So everybody knows me by Scott, all right? But I had to put Joseph on the ballot thing, so I threw a lot of people who know me, but I know that. So, so I'm the guy with this odd name. Guy Sells, that's my grandfather actually immigrated here after World War I with his family from Belgium. And they pronounced our name in the old country as Geisels. The lazy Americanized pronunciation is actually Geisels. So a little bit of background, too, is my grandfather was actually a merchant marine, and he was rarely ever stateside. My maternal grandmother passed away when my dad was a teen. Years later, this all ties in, believe me. My grandfather remarried a Japanese woman and lived in Japan the rest of his life. So after I was born, my dad, who was a Korean War vet, got a VA loan, bought our first house actually in Pompton Plains, which promptly flooded in 1968. I remember people coming to the house in canoes asking if we needed food or something. So in 1970, my family sought higher ground and moved to Wantage. So I was raised in Wantage since 1970. And our house was a pre-1850, I think, old farmhouse, and it was barely even modernized when we moved in. There was hardly any electric, indoor plumbing, anything in the house. So my dad started going on his own and trying to fix it up and stuff, and his lack of electrical skills shortly thereafter led to a fire in our house. So I remember the fire happening in the middle of the night, my mom waking us up, taking us out of the house, tried picking up the phone, and it was dead. She was trying to call the fire department, obviously. Back then, we had party line telephones. I don't know if you all remember them. So the entire road was on the same telephone line. So when one line's out, the entire road has no phone service. So went down to the neighbors down the road, woke them up in the middle of the night, and our neighbor promptly jumped in his car, drove to the nearest volunteer fireman's house he knew of, woke them up, got the fire crew out. And I remember as a kid, I was really impressed watching the firefighters. We're watching our house go up, and the firefighters running the light down the road to a nearest lake. And this was a cold, early March morning. It was freezing, and there was really thick ice. There was a lake, and it was very thick. But I remember the firemen furiously chopping ice with axe to make a hole in the lake so they could run hoses all the way up the road to put out the fire in our house. Something that was an impression of me. So anyway, so here's a tie-in with my grandfather thing. So our house obviously was pretty much gone. It was halfway burned down. So my parents sent my brother and I to live with my grandfather in Japan while the house was being rebuilt. All right. So that experience of being in Japan gave me really a huge appreciation for what we take for granted here in the United States. Now, Japan is not a third world country by any means, but even at my young age, the difference in standards of living was glaringly different. It made a big impression on me. And even as a kid, I took away from it is I believe that every kid before they go off to college nowadays should have that opportunity to go live in another country so they can come back here and see what our country can afford them, what capitalism can bring, and what living in America has afforded us here. So I went to Sussex Wantage schools. I went to High Point Regional High School. Right at graduation, actually, my parents separated, unfortunately, and a bitter divorce ensued, which kind of derailed me from going to William Patterson College. So I worked a bunch of different jobs. Then a rock band I was playing in said, you have a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. So next thing you know is I quit my jobs, moved to Canada with like $100 to my name. Needless to say, that didn't pan out. So I returned home, cut my hair, decided I wanted to settle down, got married young, started working in commercial banking industry. Then I was also taking classes at Sussex Community College for a little bit. That's before it even had a campus. Then the kids came, so that kind of shelved a lot of things. So I had two wonderful, now-grown children, Keith and Kelsey. But my marriage also didn't last, and after about 10 years, we divorced. So my ex remarried. She moved by Scenic Lakes, and that divorce for me was really a life changer. And at the same time, I changed jobs. I kind of refer to those years as my lost weekend and homage to John Lennon. Anyway, so eventually I began working for a large insurance agency in Wayne. I went to Bergen Community College for small business administration, then the American School of Business. I got remarried and we moved to Berry Lake section of Vernon, and largely, admittedly, to be closer to my kids and also cut down on my commute. My wife, Christine, who was born and raised in Elizabeth, she absolutely loves it here, except for the taxes and government overreach, but that's another issue. So my wife works at the Lounsbury Hollow School. She loves the children there. My stepson, Zach, he was an Eagle Scout. His project was the Vernon Dog Park. He graduated Vernon High School. He graduated Montclair State, and now he works at a local business right in Vernon. Fortunately, he's still living at home like many millennials, but that's another story. My stepson is a plumber, and he recently bought a house in Wantage, not far from my late mom, his beloved grandmother's house, and my brother and his family up there. My daughter lives she's a medical assistant living down in Livingston. My sister-in-law works right here down the street in McAfee. Anyway, so I work for a national insurance broker now for 20 plus years, and as a claims risk manager, working with large clients, and many of the clients are cities, municipalities like Vernon, large public schools, hospitals, healthcare industries, and large nonprofit organizations and such. I act as an intermediary negotiating with insurance companies to help clients resolve complex coverage disputes and large losses for our clients. I hold property and casualty insurance licenses in 26 states, and I have numerous insurance designations. If you look at my card, there's an alphabet behind the thing, which basically translates into being an insurance geek. I'm currently in my 4th term as president of Barry Lakes LCPOA. It's one of the largest private communities in Vernon. We're on about 1,000 acres of land on the mountain. We have about 628 homes and families there, lot owners, 13 miles of roads, 5 lakes, playground, basketball courts, a beach house, a large clubhouse. We are also a 501c3 nonprofit organization. We provide our members with garbage, recycling, snow plowing, road repairs, recreation activities. We have a board of directors. We have employees. Okay, speed it up here. I'm going too long on things. Anyway, so we also have to deal with budgets and such too. So this is part of my thing. We can't, unlike Vernon, we can't bond or borrow money. As president, I've had to work with Vernon Township and the state over the years on many very big projects, including 2 large dam replacement projects. I'm also a member of the New Jersey Coalition of Lake Associations. I co-founded the Vernon Township Association of Private Communities. And I'm running out of time here, so I just want to say is I'm kind of tired of all the baloney in town, and I just want to do what I think is the right thing. And I hope you vote for me on November 5th. Thank you. Sorry for running over.
Okay, we have a lot of questions here. Some of them are duplicate, so I've sorted them out accordingly. We will start our first question with Mr. Giselle. Okay. How would you plan to work with the Board of Ed to keep our taxes down? You have 1 minute.
Well, as you know, we've had a large tax increase, and I think a large portion of the tax is due to the Board of Education things. They've had to increase our taxes to pay for the reduction in monies that they're receiving from the state. First of all, I would like to meet with the school administrators. Actually, we were scheduled to meet with them earlier this week, and due to a recent incident, they were around. But it would be something where you have to work with this school to see what we can come up with. Maybe shared services is some of the answer. You'd have to work together with the school administrators to come together with a plan that would effectuate some kind of reduction in taxes to everybody.
All right, Mr. Sassy, would you like to, I'll repeat the question. How would you work with the Board of Ed to keep our taxes down?
I would like to see a liaison relationship to be established. I know there has been one in the past, but it has not been active. And that liaison would work with them, would not have voting rights on their budget, but would work with them to try to find ways of reducing their expenses, cost sharing, service sharing. I would also like to see an incentive presented to the teachers where if they can point out ways of saving money, they would benefit by receiving some kind of a bonus or some kind of a gift. There's no way better to identify ways of saving money than the employees who are there. They know where money is being wasted. And I think that that could be a very viable way of trying to cut back on their budget. Thank you.
So this is a two-part question. There's also a request to hear your opinion on closing a school. So, Mr. Giselle, would you please address that? Would you agree or not agree to close a school at this time?
That's a tough one. I know it's a very emotional issue for a lot of people. As I said, my wife works at the Lounsbury School also too, so it's tough. Unfortunately, I think we have to make a business decision on this, and it's actually not up to us, but it's up to the school board of things. As we're seeing enrollment go down and significant reductions in funding from the state to the townships, they're going to have to make some hard decisions to reduce budgets within Vernon, and it may be something that they have to do. I'd like to talk to the school administrators more about it to see if there's any other viable plans for it, possibly owning ownership of the building but leasing it out so that if we get enrollment back up, they can still occupy the school. But these are things I think I need to talk to the school about. But it may be something that they unfortunately will have to face. It's selling a school.
Mr. Stassi, would you like to address that as well?
Having two young grandchildren in the school system right now, I'm very leery about that, the impact that would have on class size and services to our children. But at the same time, I understand that business decisions have to be made. I do not have privy to the information needed for me to give an answer to that because I'm not on the Board of Education. I would, again, refer to creating a liaison and getting together and meeting with them to see what are the alternatives, what else can be done. Will our students receive the services and the teaching and the sports and everything else that they need? I don't want to see a school shut if it's going to impede our children's education.
Thank you. Okay. Mr. Sassi, we're going to start with you on this question. So the public has two opportunities to address the council at council meetings. 3 minutes at the beginning of a council meeting only to address agenda items, and 3 minutes to address personal issues or items other than what is on the agenda regarding the township in the latter half of the meeting. Are you in acceptance of this protocol, or do you think it should be amended?
I believe it should be amended. I myself have sought for the last 4 years questions and answers and been turned away. I do not believe that the format they're using currently is conducive to sharing ideas, open communication, and a team effort. It's just not productive the way it is currently. So I would be definitely interested in changing the format and having a much more friendly atmosphere at our council meetings. I think that having to present a question prior to it is not conducive to discussion. You send a question, you get a phone call back with an answer, and that's the end of the topic. I want open communication with interchanging of ideas. Thank you.
Mr. Giselle.
I would also like to revisit that because I know going to council meetings all the time like I do is they have the first 3 minutes and it's open to agenda items only. I'd like to see some kind of work session or something beforehand so we can get a better understanding of what it is that they're talking about. I know for one, as me sitting in the audience, I'm not on the other side of the dais, and I don't know what's behind the scenes going on, so I'm intimidated to get up there and ask questions and such. And a lot of times I don't even get answers on things. But we need some more information more transparency, I think, to the public so they know what it is that the issues that are being voted upon and passed upon, too. So that would be one thing. But and also end of the night, I know I've many times stood up in front of the council and asked questions and have been told that it's not a question and answer period, it's only for comments thing. And I don't think that's right. I think maybe some kind of work sessions we can open up transparency to the public so you get the answers to the questions they want.
Thank you. Okay. We'll start with you, Mr. Giselle. Why have you decided to run for town council?
My wife says the same thing. Well, like I said, I'm president of Barry Lakes, and I've gone to many council meetings and such, and gone before council meetings where decisions are being made by the administration that directly impact not just Barry Lakes, but all the private communities in Vernon. And I've asked for questions, I've asked for involvement, and asked to be engaged in some discussions, called the business administrator and such like that. I don't even get a courtesy of a call back. So this opportunity came up, and I thought, hey, if you can't beat them, join them. Maybe I can get on the other side. I can be a voice for the private communities in Vernon. And beyond that, I just kind of feel I want to do what's right for Vernon. I'm tired of the bickering and the things not getting done and such. So thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Sassy.
Over the last 4 years, my husband and I have fought for this town administration to come forward and help us, and they ignored us until they could no longer. Then they began to get involved, and that made me very, very uncomfortable with the fact that I, as a resident, I couldn't get support from our administration. That we were forced to spend our own money going into court to try to get what was right done. And that has presented to me the need to step forward so that no other family in this town should have to suffer the consequences of the lack of responsiveness by our town.
Thank you. Whose turn was it?
I answered first last time.
Mrs. Sassy. What is your plan to bring more ratables into Vernon?
Oh, I have a ton of plans. And first one is I would like to see that we get some grant money into town to develop the Main Street area. When you come down 515, right now you see a bunch of empty buildings, you see a big pond in the middle of a green expanse of grass, and that's it. I want to get the community involved in getting the whole area redeveloped into a hometown feel. I want it to be something like Warwick has or something like Chester, where the community comes together and supports, like we just had our state festival. That was a great idea. Why can't we do that more often to support local businesses? Why can't we get some of these empty buildings filled? And one of my plans would be a 10-year tax rebate program where if they were to develop one of the empty buildings in town, we'll give them a 10-year decreasing tax savings to bring it up to snuff. I have more ideas, but no time.
Mr. Giselle?
Thank you, Peg. These are some great ideas. There's many things you do. I think first and foremost is we got to turn around Vernon to be in a more business-friendly town. I talk to a lot of small business owners in town too, and they just say it's difficult to do business here. There's regulations about signs they put up to all kinds of things that make them difficult. So it's our existing small businesses that are here already, that are a backbone of a community. We're not helping them out to flourish and such. As far as bringing more business into Vernon, there's many things we can explore, tax abatement programs possibly for new development or something, but certainly making our community more friendly and conducive to bringing business into town. We got to realize also too is what 70% of Vernon is subject to the Highlands Act things, which strictly limits new development, building, construction. I know us up on the mountain, we couldn't even build a clubhouse there, a beach house. So that makes it a thing. So we got to find workarounds to make some businesses that are going to be able to capitalize maybe on people coming up here to use the community for recreation purposes and such. So, thank you.
Mr. Sells, what ideas do you have to increase transparency? Please be specific.
Well, I don't know, where do you start on that? I think that, again, I mentioned also, too, is I like to see some kind of work sessions or workshops or something to open to the public to go over some of the bills that are coming up before voting on by council or something, so that there's transparency there to the public so I know exactly what these things are that we're discussing. I think also, too, is that there needs to be better communication within the administration and the council. There seem to be at a stalemate. I know I'm biased. I'm a libertarian person. I don't have any issues here. I don't have any political affiliations. I'm committed to some of the things. I like to be able to work with both sides, and I think I do. I think I do that in my business as well. To be able to hear both sides of the story and come to some kind of amicable solution of things and bring that open to the public so that they can hear the issues that are coming forward in town.
Mr. Sessi.
I have two main things that I would like to achieve. The first one would be that all committees meet and have minutes. Currently, our administration there's some committees that haven't met since 2017, and there's no minutes posted for many of our committees. So I believe that we need to hold our mayor as well as council president to meeting the statutory requirement of having that. The other thing that I would like to see is to have our budget is never discussed except once a year. I think that monthly or quarterly we should be posting where our money is being spent at council meetings. We have no way of knowing where the money is going, and I think that the township should be accountable to us as our residents to know how our money is being spent.
Thank you. Okay. Mr. Stassi, do you support the scenic byway to bring ecotourism and heritage tourism into Vernon?
Yes, I do. The scenic byway is a federal and state program that is free advertisement for our town. It's promoted by the state. Why are we not taking advantage of that? That would bring hundreds and hundreds of people to visit our town and utilize our businesses if it were promoted. The current administration has not been promoting it, and I think that we have been losing a great opportunity.
Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah, I also support the scenic byway. I think it's a great idea. And I understand the Vernon Historical Society has done a great job getting grants from the state, I believe, towards that. Some of the things I've heard back from the town is there's concerns about the byway requirements to having scenic overlook parking areas and such like that, and how that's going to be paid for. But I think these are things that we can work on together with the Vernon Historical Society's great efforts on things, is look into grants to fund those things if necessary. But it would certainly do is to, any way you can bring in people to come through Vernon thing, it's got to be a help. So yes, I support it. Thank you.
Mr. Giselles, what will you do specifically to bring economic development to Vernon?
Well, I think it also goes back to what we were talking about earlier, too, is business development and ratables in town, and how do you do that? And it's first and foremost, again, and not to repeat myself too, is make the town a business-friendly place. I know business owners that I talk to, they tell me that they just don't get any guidance or help from the town to get their business up and running. As far as ratables and stuff is, some of the things you'd have to look into is something that's going to be conducive to me as saying I'm a prospective business owner or investor. What's going to make it conducive for me to come into Vernon and develop any kind of business things? And it's probably going to be some kind of a tax abatement or some kind of incentive program for them to come in and do something. So those are some of the things I like to look into.
Thank you. Mr. Stassi?
Along with Scott and Dr. Burrell, I believe that we need to change the attitude that exists in town and make it a more business-friendly atmosphere. We are known for being difficult to deal with, and I believe that needs to be addressed quickly. As well, I also believe in the tax abatement program. I believe that we need to develop our Main Street and our business center to be more friendly towards bringing businesses in. There's a lot of things that can be done if we just have a better community center. We need to support the local small businesses. We need to support women's businesses. We need to support any type of small mom-and-pop shops by shopping in Vernon. It also comes down to a community thing, that if we bring businesses here, we need our residents to support the businesses. A lot of businesses go out of business because they're not being supported. That's got to change.
Okay, thank you. This is a similar question, but I think it's worth asking as well. So, Mr. Stassi, what will you do to hold taxes flat or decrease them rather than the consistent increases we have had?
That's a tough one because, again, we're on the outside. We don't know really what's going on with the budget. But I would like to see that there be, an employee incentive program, because I believe that the employees in town know where there's waste, and I think that they can help us to find items on our budget. I would also like to see a freeze on all non-essential spending while a full audit is being performed, so that we can identify where we can have service sharing, where we can maybe cut services that are not needed. I also would like to see the grant money being pursued in a more aggressive fashion than currently is being done.
Thank you. Mr. Giselle.
Thank you. I think you need to get, coming at it as a business person perspective thing, I think you need to get on a long-term business plan model, first of all. Some of the issues in town that bug me is that we seem to be bonding or borrowing for capital improvements every capital improvement that comes down the pike, which to me is a credit card mentality thing, is we're borrowing and borrowing and borrowing or something, and there's no. So I think we need to put ourselves on a long-term budget model. And in the course of doing that thing, we're going to be reviewing the current budget to see where things can be cut. I don't like taxes, and I like to find ways to reduce taxes any means I can. That's it.
Thank you. Okay, Mr. Giselle, we'll start with you on this one. How will your seat on the council benefit the lake communities and private communities?
Does she get the same question? As
Yes, she will get the same question.
Sorry.
Even though this was probably direct.
Right. Okay. So, as I said earlier, too, is the lake communities. I go to council meetings all the time, and there's issues that come up, and we're just simply not engaged in those things. And the lake communities, private communities in Vernon represent over 40% of the taxpayers in Vernon. So, I'm asked to be engaged, and we're not even getting brought into the conversation about decisions that directly impact us. And hey, we're taxpayers just like everybody else in Vernon. We're not a separate country or something. We need to be engaged in the process of things. So I wanted to hopefully get, if you vote for me on November 5th, have an opportunity to sit on the council to possibly be a voice for the lake communities and bring back and share information to the lake communities and be a voice for the communities in council decisions moving forward.
Thank you, Ms. Stasi.
I am in total agreement with what Scott has said. Our lake communities are just as equal to every other community and deserve the same considerations. I have witnessed what I believe is that they're being treated differently. I realize they have laws and bylaws that have to also be held up to, but I do believe that the lake communities and other private communities, I live on a private road, we're shunned too. We get very little. We're always being told, well, you're a private road, we can't do anything to help you. That should not be. We are all taxpayers in this town, and we all are entitled to the services, and we should have equal voices and equal rights.
Thank you. This one's for you, Mrs. Stasi, to start. What are your thoughts about potential current selective enforcement of zoning and environmental regulations in town?
Say that again, please.
Okay, yeah. What are your thoughts about the potential that there are current selective enforcement of zoning and environmental regulations in our town?
I'm not familiar with that, so I really have to say I don't know what that means, what it is they want to know. Maybe the person who asked the question can explain, if you wouldn't mind.
Well, I would imagine that one would probably first have to assume that there is selective enforcement to answer this question.
Right, and I don't know that.
If you have no opinion on
Yeah,
that, that's fine. Mr.
okay.
Giselle?
Yeah, I'm kind of in the same boat as Peg. Unfortunately, the thing is, I haven't. I've heard talk about that, but I don't know the specifics, so I feel remiss to comment on that.
Right.
Okay, very good. All right, so would you say, who went last? I'm sorry.
Me would
Yeah.
be, I think, because
Okay.
nobody answered that one.
So back to you, Peg. What would you say are your differences in regards to how you would run the town as opposed to your opponents?
Good question. Open, honest government. That says it all.
Thank you. Mr. Giselle?
Thank you. Okay. My opponents are great, and I got to say first of all, I have nothing against them. I have the utmost respect for anybody doing this. You really put yourself out there to public scrutiny, especially on social media. Anyway, but I'm an independent. I'm just a working, stiff business person, not a politician. I've never done this before. I'm not skilled. I'm not a slick politician like certain opponents. I'm not affiliated with any candidate or aligned with any party. And so what this all means is that, and also, too, is the libertarian thing. I don't have a R or a D after my name, so I don't have any kind of a party affiliation and such. So what I think is that what that would bring to the table is somebody that's not partisan to one side or another. Now, I know we're a Faulkner Act town, but the reality is I'm not going to have any bones in the fight or something with one side or the other. So I would hope to restore civility, transparency, and to be able to get things done between both sides.
Thank you. Okay, Mr. Giselle, currently the town is divided and divisive with terrible things all over social media.
Yeah.
What specifically would you do as a council person to stop this vitriol and attacks on our residents?
That's interesting. There's, of course, I see that, and I see that firsthand, especially since announcing a candidacy or something. It's disheartening to see certain people throwing out some really vile comments that are unjustified and such. What do you do about that? Well, unfortunately, I believe that let me put it this way. I think my favorite quote by Mark Twain was, censorship is telling a man he can't have a steak just because a baby can't chew it. So I don't think we have the right to infringe upon somebody's First Amendment rights to tell them that they can't post online their comments, no matter how vile and vicious they may be. It's awful, but I think we go down a dangerous path if we start infringing upon your First Amendment rights to take away their freedom to say what they want to say. So I think, some of the Pledge to Pause campaigns and making public awareness about stopping before you make these things is the way to go.
Thank you. Mr. Stassi?
I agree. The Pledge to Pause is an excellent way to go. I do believe that the best way is to rise above it. Don't lower yourself to the level of the comments. I choose to ignore it. There's not much you can do about controlling what a person feels they have the right to post about you or what they want to say about you. It's their right. It is their right to do it. You just have to ignore it and be better than them.
Thank you. Are there any other questions from anyone in the public? We have them all. Okay. So the BTA prepared 4 questions, of which 3 of them were well covered already here tonight. So thank you for all your input.
Saving the hard ones for last.
We're saving one for last, the one that was not asked, but I think it's a very good one. So, who would like to take it first? Who's next first? Okay, Mr. Giselle. What will be your priority issue that you will work on as soon as you take office?
Going back, I think, not the fear of repeating myself too, is looking into issues to make us more business friendly and budget issues. That's the biggest thing. I find it difficult, as being an outsider, to go on and examine what the budget is in the town. I'd like to dig into that further to see ways to be able to move forward to put the town on a long-term budget plan of things. That's kind of my 2 biggest things I'd like to look at first.
Thank you. Mr. Stassi.
The taxes would be the first thing I would want to, so I would address the budget and how we are spending our money. The second thing would be our infrastructure. I believe that we all use our infrastructure and we all know how bad it is. I believe we need to establish a good road repaving program. We need to address the lack of sorry, I knew I was going to say something and I drew a blank. Sorry about that. So I'll move on. Basically, our infrastructure needs improvement, and I would want to address that as my second issue. I'll remember what it was sooner or later.
Thank you. Thank you both of you for answering the questions very well. I appreciate it.
I remember. Well, I had to look in my notes, and I remember. I would entertain stable and permanent funding for our recreational programs and fields.
Okay. So at this time, I'd like to offer the candidates 1 minute each for their closing statement. And when that is done, if you want to hang and speak with them about any other individual issues, I'm sure they'd be happy to spend some time with you. So, Mr. Giselle, I'd like you to go first.
Okay. 1 minute. Yeesh, you want to get this in. All right. So I don't like getting into this Vernon mudslinging thing that's been going on social media and stuff like that. So you don't see me much on there or something because it's bad. Anyway, so that being said, I realize we're in New Jersey, the 3rd highest tax state in the country, and we are a Faulkner Act town. And we're supposed to be nonpartisan, but I want to be a new, unbiased, independent voice on the council to bridge the current political divide, hopefully restore civility, talk to both sides, and bring some kind of resolve, get things done to benefit us, the taxpayer, and in doing so, I believe in a transparency in government to do so. So anyway, bottom line is I'm tired of the BS, I see in town, and I just want to try to do the right thing. So I thank you for all coming out, and I hope you vote for me on November 5th. Thank you.
I pretty much feel the same way. I'm just tired of the stagnation. I'm tired of the negativity. And I want to bring a positive future to our town. I want to work with my fellow council people in a team effort. I want to explore new ideas and stop saying it can't be done, or no, we don't do it that way. These are the statements that I hear constantly over the last 4 years. Every time I go to a meeting and ask a question, nope, can't do that, nope, nope, nope. It seems to be their favorite word. I think we need to change our attitude, and we need new people in there to do that. So thank you for the opportunity of speaking with you this evening, and I hope that you will give me the confidence of your vote on November 5th. Thank you.
And thank all of you for coming out tonight. I'm sure they appreciate it. They needed their chance to say their piece, and thank you to both of you for coming tonight.
Thanks to the BTA for giving us the opportunity.
Thank you. You're welcome. Thank you.